Good evening. Welcome to the July Southern Fried DNN User Group meeting. We are excited to join everybody. We have a regular crew of us here in-house joining David Poindexter in his lovely Envisionative offices in Mooresville, North Carolina. And online, we have a good collection of folks from not only within the state, but around the country and around the world joining us online. You might also be joining us from the recorded sessions and be joining us after our meetings. Either way, welcome. We're glad you're here joining us today. We have one guest with us here tonight. We're going to run through some development-focused topic information about module development and about having a quick leg up on getting started with module development and kind of a new way to do that, a different set of tools to work with. And we're going to jump into that in just a moment, but we, as we normally do, are going to run through community information and then kind of move on with topics and introductions here in just a moment. Clint, I'll pass it to you in a moment for some of the other community announcements information, but I'd like to go ahead and start off with an important announcement that we have announced that the next DNN Summit is going to be scheduled for February 2019. This year's was right before Valentine's Day. This next one is going to be after Valentine's Day. February 19th through 23rd is the announced date for the next DNN Summit. It will, for a third year in a row, be located in Denver, Colorado, and we'll have the same type of structure where we have 3 days of event and then 2 days of skiing and summit after the fact. So it will kick off with 1 day of training, then 2 days of sessions, and then skiing and slopes and camaraderie with everybody. And I think, at least speaking for myself, everybody that I know who's gone the first year, who's gone the second year, it is a fantastic, it's a fantastic time. We commune with everybody. We meet new folks that we haven't met before. There's a lot of community action. There's sharing of knowledge, meeting new clients, meeting new friends, meeting new people who will help you on your next project. It's all there. You throw training into that, and you've got the premier DNN community event, at least on this side of the pond. Clint, do you want to throw anything in there?
No, I mean, I think you covered
that ringing endorsement for DNN Summit?
Yeah, no, I think you covered it well. You probably did not mention the lightsabers that are at DNN Summit because you build them and you're too humble to mention it, but there are awesome lightsabers that get distributed as prizes and gifts. Is
that like free to every attendee?
No, well, hopefully. No. We started out with one. I think we went to like 2 or 3.
You did 3 last year.
Yeah, but Ryan's does some awesome work there. But no, it is a great conference. It is the, like I said, premier event, especially in North America, right? Generally speaking, you have 2 conferences every year. You have one in Europe with DNN Connect and one in the U.S. with DNN Summit. And so we are just getting the wheels turning on the conference. So we have the kickoff meeting next week. And if you are looking to help or volunteer or contribute in some way, just reach out, because again, this is for the community, by the community. Everybody's donating their resources and time and energy and effort in the same way that people who write code are, right? It's just to try to help DNN be better. So I don't know that I can add anything that you didn't, but it is going to be good, and it's going to be in February 19th through 23rd, 2019.
All right. I don't know, kicking over to some of the community items that I've paid attention to that hit my radar. Clint, you talked about posting pages now for each of the advisory groups, and then we have links for these that share some of that information. I believe Daniel, in last month's meeting, kind of mentioned that he didn't know where the different advisory groups were, and that's a thing we've heard echoed. So you got some pages up for these.
Yeah, I did. So I created the just basic. David's got it on the screen, or you have it. Somebody's got it on the screen here. Just a generic landing page, and you can click on any groups page, and it's just got basically the text from the blog that Andy posted with the picture of the group leader, a list of members who are in the group, and then you know, if you want to join it, you can click join the group and it'll send an email. Now, I will give you or grant you that these are very basic in nature, but my hope is that each group will kind of take ownership of their page and say, hey, you know, we need this on the page, or we need this content or whatever, because there is a lot of activity going on in each of these groups, especially the technology group right now. So, you know, whatever information the technology group feels is relevant to have on their page, whether it's like links to the roadmap, links to GitHub, whatever it is.
Post for requests for participation in decisions? Absolutely.
Yeah, so again, it's like any DNN page on any DNN site. It's a blank slate. We can make what we want to of it from the community, right? So this is just me responding to people like Daniel and other people saying, like, I don't know anything about these groups. How can I join them? And so we created the pages. And we've already actually had 2 people click that button to join the group. And I think one joined maybe the developers and one technology.
Right.
I think that's right. But yeah, so it's already helping. But yeah, the pages should get better.
All right. Other community things, you know, going right off of that from the advisor groups, if you're not sure where to find out what the advisor groups have been doing, the community blog is the best location to go and see the updates and the posts that are made every few weeks from each of the different groups with updates and information. So here we can jump in to see the technology group here on the 17th, their meeting information. Anything else to kind of throw?
Yeah, there's Sebastian.
One thing I will call out is what David just mentioned. That is a GDPR blog hosted by Sebastian Lupo. So you may not have seen a blog from Sebastian in a while, but he is posting blogs again.
All right. Well, I was going to bring this one up as a community call out in that he is looking for volunteers for the GDPR endeavor or initiative, and he is looking for participation. And if you, regardless of whether you are in the EU, it's something that's probably affecting you. And if you've got concerns for it or have time to be able to participate or want to in any way help guide what's going on there, this is a call for you to get involved.
Yep, first meeting is next week. I sent out the invite.
Yep.
And if you go back to the main blog page and scroll through a little bit, you'll see like there are meeting replays, and I've tried to stick to using the same like images so you'll know when something's coming from me or DNN Corp or whatever. There are people who watch the replays, especially people in different time zones. The DNN Digest, if you want to open that up, I just want to highlight one specific section, which is the project update section toward the bottom, about 2/3 way through or whatever. Yeah, so we got DNN Summit there, but if you go, so there's an interview with Daniel, which you should watch, right?
Nice.
Featured content is the YouTube video content from DNN Connected. There's a lot of good sessions, and they do a great job editing, high-end, professional. You can go watch I think there were like maybe 2 sessions where there was an issue with the camera or something, but there's like 31 that are like great to watch. But the next section, the project updates, that graphic that you see comes from GitHub, and it is showing you like pull requests and contributors for DNN platform, as in the core of the platform. And then the next section, which is community projects, these are the core or community modules that Daniel and the team he has formed around him are updating to run on 9.2. So, you can see like a link on the name of them, which will take you to the GitHub, and then we put like just a little blurb, like, okay, this will run on 9.2. This is what's going on. Daniel, do you want to add anything to that? I think you're muted right now.
Yeah, you might have to unmute, Daniel.
He's like, hey.
You mean for the next one?
No, just in general.
Yeah, any notes about these updates that have been posted?
Oh, no, that's pretty much it. So it's an overview of what we've been doing in about a month. So nice work. Like 50. Well, at the time of writing, there was about 51 issues. I think it's about 60 by the time it got released. So we're about fixing 2 issues per day, which is good for something that's volunteers, you know.
Yep.
That is fantastic. Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Daniel, I also noticed there's some consistency now across the various repos as far as like issue templates and contributing documentation and all that. I think Arch Peter was probably behind a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's been a couple
together,
people.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the next step we're going to be having contributing instructions, and we're going to try to have everything in the same, as much as possible, the same way of cloning the repository, building and submitting a pull request. There might be small differences, but we're going to try to bring it as much consistent as we can, and we are also bringing in continuous integration. So we're going to have a build as soon as someone merges a pull request. So people who have no programming experience can at least download this, even if it's not released yet, and test it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is a really, I mean, even though it's just a section in the DNN Digest, this is a really good sign to see, like a positive sign for the community, because what it is symbolic of is that people in the community are taking initiative and writing code and ensuring that the rest of the community can, you know, move on, move forward, upgrade, things like that. So to me, it's a very good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Another nice visual, if you go to the DNN community GitHub, where you have the list of all the projects, you see kind of all the graphs have a straight line with a peak at the end, you know. So if you scroll down, you're going to see that it's really coming back to life, you know. All the end of those lines are bumping up.
Straight lines with nice peaks at the end. Yes, I get it.
It's really a symbol of reviving, you know.
Yep, that's what I was saying a while ago. It looks like a heart monitor, right? It's like it was kind of playing, and then all of a sudden they shot it, and it's going up. So it is good to see. If you go back to the main blog page, we had a blog somewhere in there from Southern Fried Zone, David Poindexter.
It's a highly popular one
Yeah,
as well. So,
this web components right here. So it's a pretty neat deal, especially if you are kind of, how can we say, involved with like maybe skin objects or tokens or controls that are used in modules. This is kind of a new way of looking at like how can we, you know, have controls or tokens, and they're web components, which means they're pure HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I don't want to mess it up.
hey, if you want to live on the edge and experience something really cool, engage in a conversation with me about it. I'd love to have some more people involved.
Yeah, so he's got a couple samples. You know, I've clicked on links, downloaded some, you know, files, and looked at it. It is pretty neat. And if Southerners can do it, then you can too, right?
Yeah, scrolling down just a little bit more, and you'll see a nice little editing experience there that hopefully will get this thing working out really well so that we have a pure a custom element for editing.
Yeah, so the hope is that like maybe people like Daniel and the core modules team will start incorporating these components into the base platform modules, and then over time, you know, they could, you know, gain acceptance and become a standard, right? Because it makes it very simple to, you know, have an editor, right? You put like one reference, one line of JavaScript, one HTML, or just, I mean, if you can do jQuery, I mean, like, pretty simple. I mean, I downloaded it, looked at it. It was like, what, 15, 20 lines of code maybe? Mm-hmm. And that was it. You could change, like,
actually,
from those two
lines of code.
Yeah, those two editor styles right there, like the one that's the box that you're used to and then the little bubble, like you just change like a property or something, or an attribute, however you say it, on the tag, and then it totally updates it. So,
and the idea is that these can be used regardless of what framework are you using, if you're an Angular person, if you're a Vue.js person, or if you don't use frameworks at all. You can still use these, and it's great.
Yeah, so he's building out the library, but anyway, it is kind of a neat concept to check out. We're hoping that Matt Rutledge will, you know, take the cue and put his stock module in DNN generator using web components, but you didn't hear that from me. If you could go back to the blog page, we'll see what else is listed there. Hint, hint, Matt. So we have a Tudog replay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dog.
And there's the blog by Daniel, and you see I'm whipping these guys into shape. Everybody's using the summary images as they should, floated right.
That was a couple pixels off.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, that was like his first or second blog. I didn't want to, come down too hard on him. But yeah, a lot of good stuff going on in the community, and this blog page is where you see a lot of it shared.
All right, folks. I think that's kind of our wrap-up on community items. What we have on tap for tonight is rapid DNN extension development. Yo! Matt Rutledge. We've seen him not only give presentations and talk with us about some of the e-commerce related work that he's done for the company he works with, BelieveKids.com is the one we have brought up here for a splash screen. But tonight we have him coming in to talk about Generator DNN, a new scaffold for building DNN modules. And I'm basically going to turn it over to you, Matt, for screen share, and you can begin presenting, and we'll kind of go from here. But if everybody will give him a chance to kind of give an introduction and lead us through a little bit, we'll then open the floor for general questions and conversation as we dive into this.
Sounds good. We'll see if I can't mess it up. All right.
Perfect.
See my screen?
We do. You're in great shape.
All right. So, real quick, I just got to give a couple of credits here because I know David Poindexter in a Slack channel I saw asked, what was this theme from? I did not make this. I have no design talent. But I go over to startbootstrap.com, and they have various, templates and stuff, and I just use this freelancer template. I just converted it and made it a Jekyll template for GitHub pages. So, all right, that's my quick little shout out to them. All right, so I've been doing DNN development in some way, shape, or form for 3 years now, mostly just for my company, Believe Kids. But I've gotten involved in the community and have given a couple presentations. And I got involved with one of the developers group, and Peter Donker said, "Hey, we'd like some new command line tools, for DNN." And I said, "Well, I'll take on that." And so here's where we are today. And so we came up with this Yeomon generator. And for those of you that don't know, Yeomon is just a web scaffolding tool. They have tons and tons of generators out there. So if you were going to do like a Angular or React app, you could use a Yeomon scaffolder. It would just put the project structure in place. And I know when I started developing modules, the project structure was like, I was like, where do I put all this stuff? Where do I get all these things? So I don't really have a PowerPoint or anything, so we're just going to go through, hopefully, a live demo that actually works. So,
do you have a way of making your command line
larger, bigger?
That would be awesome.
Or zoomed in.
Yeah, as far as the size of it and all that.
You can
click at the top left. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Properties,
and then I just go to my text and bump it up. Is that what?
Yeah, that would help.
Font. Let's go like.
Error.
Huge PowerShell.
Yeah, but we can read that great. That's much.
All right, so you can read that, all right?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Shot.
All right. So to get started, you have to have Node.js installed, and I know as .NET developers, Node.js is not something that a lot of people use, but there are tons of great scripts and things out there that help in just standard development tasks like minifying JavaScript files or minifying CSS files or building your SCSS or less to CSS files and things like that. So once Node.js is installed, you just have to install Yeomon. So you do npm install yo, and then you have to install our generator, which is npm install generator DNN. Once that's installed, you can scaffold out your project. So I'll make a directory here, and I'll just type in YOUR DNN. And this will start up the Yeomon process and call out for the DNN generator itself, which will take just a second. Assuming my font change didn't mess things up here.
Was it still called DNN? Did you change the name?
It's just YOUR DNN.
You made a change right before the demo.
Yeah, you've been
I
making
did.
too many updates today, so
Was it supposed to be Yo Gabba DNN maybe?
There it is.
Oh, there it is. There we go.
Oh, but I pressed enter past my module. All right, so you'd be prompted. You'd be prompted to pick a module type, which I just press enter through. But you'd have MVC or SPA module, right? And this goes through and asks you some questions. So I picked MVC module here, and then it's going to ask, what's the company name or what your namespace is for your module. We usually use company names. What's the name of the module? I'll just call mine demo MVC. And then created by Yeomon. And we'll scroll down a little bit. Company website. So it asks you all this information so it can fill out the manifest file for you.
Right.
So we don't have to manage all of that.
Oh.
Whoa. Oh no, this is my.
you put a space in your yeah.
No, this is my latest one that I've been messing with. I was fixing your issue, right?
Oh, gotcha.
I like dasherize something. What's
No,
being
that's
dasherized?
yeah. So what's being dasherized? See, David Poindexter came up with something where he's like, if I put it in there, it doesn't work. And
well, you can always get full based on a tag. Get back to your other branch.
so we were fixing that, and I'll just show you what I was doing. If I have this all pre-generated, so
Of course.
because I knew I'd be.
I tell people when they're getting ready to come on that the best of Southern Fried presentations involve something not going right, and then you backing out, and then working around. We all get to see the tools to use and the things on your desktop. It's part of what we all share, so we see how everybody else does what they do. So it's all good.
Of course, mine goes slow because of the web conference thing. I'm on this little laptop, so you've got to bear with me 1 second. Generators. There we go. So we'll go back in the MVC template. I will look at this index. And we will go through the prompts. We will take out this and this. And we'll change this back to props.name. Let's see if that's fixed our issue. If not, I have it all generated. So.
Good luck.
Aw.
Yeah. See,
We're rooting for you.
this is for you, David.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right.
Just as long as you have it fixed by DNN Summit where you will speak on it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem.
Better believe. Kids believe.
All right. Try this again. MVC. Oh.
SFDNN now.
That's all right.
I feel like we should work DNN letters into the yeoman's man's face somehow.
Change them out. Yeah.
There we go. So it starts.
Still right there. Yep.
Looking good, man. Looking
Starts
good.
creating everything for you, and then it goes, "Hey, I'm all done, and we're gonna run npm install," which that's the Node package manager. It comes with Node.js, and basically what this is going to do is it's going to download all these dependencies that we have, because we use Gulp basically as a build pipeline for this that does various things, and it's also then going to run a NuGet package get to make sure we have all the NuGet packages downloaded. So you can basically, from once this is done, you can actually run the build command. It'll generate an install package for you, and you can drop that module onto a page without having to touch anything. So, and I'm specifically doing this on the MVC module because the React module takes probably about 5 minutes to actually download everything.
But so for this level of what it's building now, you're saying that it would finish with an installer for that newly built module, that build. It's an empty module at that part, or does it have some basic function to it, or
some basic
script to it or something?
NV quick components to it.
It has some very very basic structure to it here. So I mean, while that's going, I'll come over here and I can show you the module that it actually generates.
All right.
So I have this blank page here, and go ahead and edit, and we'll drop a couple modules on the page.
What is the CMS that you're using there, Matt?
This is actually Devote content.
Base requirements or base elements of this newly built module. What base DNN version? What base requirements necessary in place?
DNN 8 and above.
8 and above.
Because 8's the first one that introduced MVC, really.
Well.
So you got to have 8 or above.
Okay.
This actually, when it pulls its NuGet packages and all that, actually pulls, I think, the packages for DNN 9 too. So. I'm just going to go to the one that's already scaffolded.
Oh.
So you
think
can
it has
see.
several more steps?
It typically doesn't take that long, but you've got a lot going on, I guess, on this computer.
When I did it at home, it went like that.
Yeah, my computer, when I do presentations and demos and things, it cranks along.
Sure.
Fan gets going real good. And
Yep. Been there. Sounds like a helicopter taking off.
It does. So you just have to bear with me. All right, so demo MVC, that's the one we're going to drop on this page.
So
And
if
I've
it-
also
oh, go ahead.
I also scaffolded out the React module too, which I can drop on this page.
Nice.
So you did a YOUR DNN, you answered all the questions, and then the step that we've skipped here is the build itself that created.
Yep, this is the one step we skipped there. Is you just run npm run build. And I actually have a sort of a live type React change or React module I want to put on here to show you guys sort of what I do when I'm using the tool. So I'll drop some React components on there and build and deploy from the command line, and then we can refresh this page once we get the module on there. So we just dropped the MVC module that YOUR DNN creates. I'll just make this bigger. I'll just crank along.
I feel like we should update one of those commands and be like, Chris who?
What? Oh, man.
The Christoph template.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Love you, Chris.
Hey now, those are great templates. All right, so here's a module. This is basically when you create an ASP.NET, MVC site. This is the page you're presented with. That's what I put in as the placeholder for the module.
Yeah.
If you go in and we look at the module, which we'll do here in a minute, and like Visual Studio Code, we'll see everything it generated. But we put in an edit menu there, so people can see how you use an edit menu. And then the settings are also put in there. Got to move this window over here. Maybe that'll help. And there's actually two settings that we have, and it all pulls from app local resources for descriptions, so people can see how to do that. Man, computer really does not like this.
So Clint and David are saying that when they test it, this thing is lightning fast and it gets the job done fast. Hate that it's going slow, but we'll get there in a second.
It's just really my computer. Let's see if we can.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Oh no, if we want to fill the time, we could.
Yeah, can I ask some stupid questions, like some dumb questions about this while we're waiting for it to load?
Absolutely.
So out of the box, I mean, you cover some like the edit. You put an edit button there. You've got settings, something scaffolded in there for showing how to do that. But what assumptions are you making? So for an MVC module, are there any other dependencies or frameworks or anything like that you're looping in when you scaffold these out, or is it pretty bare bones? I mean, like what is it giving you?
And I try to make it pretty much as bare bones as possible with the minimum amount of dependencies. Let's go ahead and I'll just show you everything in Visual Studio Code And this thing can crank away in the background. That's fine. Or it's done. Oh, so it published. So, yeah, so the dependencies...
All proceeds from tonight's meeting are going to towards helping buy a new computer for Matt.
Yeah. Yeah, so all the dependencies are really just the DNN core module, the DNN MVC module, or DLL, and that's about it. I do when we scaffold it out, I do include a bootstrap and a module icon and everything, so it looks nice, you know, when you put it into the, I don't know, whatever, into the extensions. But as far as dependencies go,
do you mind control
really
in there a little bit?
Zoom in. Let's see if I can zoom in.
Yeah,
Control plus will get you there.
Control plus. Maybe. Oh, Visual Studio Code.
Yeah, in Visual Studio Code, Control plus. Or Command plus. Sorry, you're on a Mac. Command plus. Yeah.
Is that better?
Thank you.
All right. So this is all the dependencies really. Whoa. I did it too many times.
Very readable, though.
Yeah, you've got the magnifier tool running now. So.
Crap. Wonder how I did that. All right. Maybe that's better. Okay.
Yep, we're good.
Added the dash, though. All right. So 7 dependencies. Basically, it's just the stuff to make MVC and Razor work, and then the stuff to make MVC work and DNN itself. Right. But when we've scaffolded out, if we look here on the left, we have, go off the top, we have the build script, what is that beeping? All right. We got the build scripts, and these are everything that we use in the Gulp pipeline to build the packages. Once you build, we create this packages folder, which puts your install and source in there. We have the app local resources, which this is just one example of how you'd use it for the settings. Then components, we actually, that's the feature controller or the business controller for the modules. So if you wanted to do any iUpgradable, iSearchable, all that custom stuff. And then your controllers. So basically we have the home controller, the settings controller. We show you how to do a model for your settings. And scroll down a little bit. And your standard views, your edit, index, settings view, layout, all the standard MVC stuff. I put in, the way I like to do all my resources and assets for a module, I put under like a resources directory. So in here, there's the bootstrap, any images that are in here, and any CSS that goes with this module.
Yeah,
So,
I have a question regarding Bootstrap. What if the skin already has Bootstrap and it's there too?
Use Daniel Mettler's Koi framework. You know, just makes an assumption that you want to build something out. If you know your skin's going to have Bootstrap on it and you're building your module, I mean, you can feel free to delete that.
Okay.
But I try to include something at least so people could do some layout in their modules. But yeah.
Hey Matt, so just out of curiosity, like, why is Bootstrap under resources instead of just using Node, or NPM to pull that in? Is there a reason why you do it that way, or?
Just so it gets all bundled in. No particular reason. Just so it could get all the files you could get bundled in with the module. It made more sense for me to have the files there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
So, so let me see.
But I also followed your reference of using the COI so that you can check to see if it's loaded or not, and load it if conditionally.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool thing. And I think in NB Quick Theme that's included. So if you create your theme with NB Quick Theme, then that's all there already. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the React module so you guys can see what that looks like. And this one, this one has a little bit more substance to it because we actually have all the when we scaffold out the React, instead of just using ES6, we actually use TypeScript for all the components, just to give you something that's strongly typed. So basically everything is pretty much the same in the SPA module. We still have the resources folder for all the assets and things, but there's a source folder, and this is where all your React components and things live. So we have the app, which is the main view. We have an edit, which is actually the edit actions that you'd use for the module, and then we have the settings, and this all compiles out, and actually this ends up to be a quick settings, because with the HTML modules you can't have regular settings, you have to have the quick settings for HTML modules. So let's see if I can go back over to the site. I'll drop that module on the page just so you can see what it looks like. And then I'm going to bring over a couple components too. All right, there goes the page. What happened to my Chrome screen? I need like a specific machine just for presentations, I think.
Have been there before. Your work machine gets bogged down to a certain point, then you run a screen share and it gets even worse. Well, so we're heading towards you putting it back on a page and us taking a look at this, the React components in this one and settings, right?
Yeah. Yep. So I'm gonna.
Anybody else online have questions while we're heading towards that? All right, wanted to check.
Yeah, if we're waiting.
Yep.
So you can still, with this, build the zip package, the installation package?
Yep. So when you do npm run build, it will build all the install and source packages for you.
Okay, okay. And could this be automated when you build in Visual Studio?
What's that?
Could this be automated when you run a Visual Studio build?
Yeah, so one of the things you could do in Visual Studio, everything's driven by gulp. So you could use the Visual Studio task runner, and you could just select the basic create package task. So, because really what gulp is doing is it's going to go in, and for the build, it still has to call it MS build, right? Because it's .NET framework. So it actually calls out to MS build, and then after that, it figures out what all the files are and creates all the packages and things like that.
Okay.
So I'm going to. Yeah, the funny thing is, while you're doing your introduction, I was messing with this, and it was actually working very quickly. And then we started presenting in it. And then my computer said,
The curse of the printer.
The demo docs.
Yep. Demo gremlins. Well, we are, kind of filling some audio time while you're loading it and while it's loading up. What we can do with this right now is use it today to help start from scratch. Brand new MVC module, brand new SPA module, and it helps us quickly gather together the things that we're needing, putting them in place, building that manifest file for us, and really walking it all the way through to having a built installable module. Obviously, there's got to be stuff put into it, but that's a fair amount of environment and workspace setup that's automated and ready for you.
And you don't have to do it in Visual Studio.
Yeah, I was
right. I mean, you move into Visual Studio afterwards to work in things, obviously. But
you don't.
Or code, Visual Code. I mean, I do all my stuff in VS Code.
So,
you see.
because this is command line driven and you're using MS Build from the command line, you don't have to have Visual Studio, full-blown Visual Studio. You can use the lightweight Visual Studio Code editor. So like you can be on a Mac and you can develop a DNN module. You won't be able to test it locally in DNN, but you can.
Not on local.
You can do that.
You can spin one up.
You can package it up and plop it in. Spool it up in your.
I like that personally in that I don't spend a lot of time in Visual Studio myself. I'm most of the time working just straight in code, and I don't care to load up a whole project and load up all those things. I like the light nature of that. That's enticing to me. Well, I guess the question I was going to move towards would be, if that's what it can do today, and that's what it's for, where is it heading next? What are you wanting to build into it? What's missing? What are you thinking about next? And will you be able to have it done in time for February to present it at DNN Summit?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely still in its infancy. I mean, what I'd like to get in there is a persona bar template, the scaffold out a persona bar project, because, I mean, that's huge. The setup on that project is ridiculous.
But highly needed, as in there are no persona bar ready-made projects or things that we can pick up, like no Christock templates ready to go to build us a persona bar item yet. So that would be a good thing that hasn't been addressed elsewhere.
Yeah, I was going to scaffold out a theme, but in the quick theme, that pretty much covers that. So I mean, I'll probably be taking that off, or at least pointing to, putting a blurb in there about if you want to do a theme, go to do NV quick theme. I really want to get to the point where I could go like npm run start, sort of like you do on a React app, and have it actually build, take the install module, put it into your local instance, and launch a web browser for you, so you can see what's going on, without having to go through all that. I mean, that's really where I want to get to. And next week I'm actually talking to Daryl Tennell, who did DNN Packager, and he's got some things that might help get us to some of that point. So I'm going to talk to him next week and hopefully get some involvement from him. Andrew Hoffling's been helping. He's found a couple bugs and fixed those.
Shout out to Andrew.
Yeah. And we've been talking back and forth. Andrew wants to build a Visual Studio extension that sort of leverages this, where it'll just hook into the debugger and start. Then the next thing I think coming, not only are some bug fixes that we have, but developing inside a DNN instance. And we have a couple ways. David suggested maybe we do a link directory or something like that. Right now, I do all my development outside of a DNN instance. I actually had to, install this from a backup on my laptop to do this. I usually always just run some unit tests through my service and API frameworks, and then the modules usually call those. So never get really into where I have to do a whole lot of crazy debugging in a module on some backend ASCX page. So this assumes that you're developing outside of a DNN instance, which actually works really well for teams of people, right? Where individuals, you don't have to worry about having the same environment set up or anything like that. People can just check this out of GitHub. They can still build the module without actually having to be, oh, my DNN instance was on D instead of the C drive, and things like that.
Sure.
So we're trying to figure out how to best approach that.
Hey, Matt, we had actually a question come in through another channel from Ralph Williams. Wanted to know if there was a plan to get a basic API as part of the scaffolding there, or are you planning on leaving that out for now, or what?
Including it as an extra that could be turned on or added in?
Yeah, as in a scaffold out, just a web API DNN.
Yeah.
Yep.
DLL. Yeah, I mean that's. I'll write that down. That's definitely something that we'll add here.
Or even in the context of the MVC or SPA module types, because that's common, for that.
Yeah, definitely something we can look at. I mean, this should definitely be community driven. I mean, I started this thing, but there's lots of people out there that have way more experience in DNN than I do that they can be like, oh, well, every time I do this project, I also have to do this. You know, can we get that added into the module? So
like with
yeah.
your spa example right now that it scaffolds out, you're assuming using React and all that. Do you plan on also doing some or accepting some community contributions for if you want to do it in Vue.js or you want to do it in Angular or some other type of pattern?
My next thing was Angular, was to get a pattern of that working for the spa. I've never done any Vue.js, so if anyone's done that or wants to even just give me a short little snippet of Vue.js and have me do the template itself, we
You've
can
got
arrange
volunteers chiming in. Ralph says, yeah, he'd love to work on the Vue.js. So
yeah, for sure.
There we go. Stepping up.
So that'd be great. So this looks like it's all built and loaded since we've been talking. Really, right now it just says, hello, I'm a React module, right? I actually was browsing around the other day and saw this little thing on Codeburst, see how to build a countdown timer with React.
Yep.
So I converted this into TypeScript and built a little, updated my module here with the files, while we were talking. So let's see if my computer will behave here. Let's see if we can do this. npm run build. So this actually just kicks off the gulp task, which you can see there. This actually goes through the React has Webpack as a dependency, so it goes through and builds everything through Webpack and packages up actually two JS files. One is for npm run forest run. One is for the app itself, and one is for the settings. So, or the edit, so that you don't have to include and download all your settings JavaScript code if you're not in edit mode or anything like that. So I try to separate the two for performance, really.
Just out of curiosity, because I can't help but to think about it, is there a reason why you're using Gulp and Webpack and not one or the other?
I think just Gulp was just simply because I had it already in the MVC, and I wanted to try to keep some things consistent. And then Webpack I've only used that in React things. So I only used Webpack just to build all the TypeScript components. So I didn't even really look around to see if Gulp had all the TypeScript compiling and conversion and all to JSX and all that. So I just was like, oh, I'll use Webpack.
Gotcha.
Where it's package the install and package the source.
Seems to be moving faster this time.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe who knows? Maybe I got a window or something that it didn't like. While we were talking, I've been over here going, I gotta quit that. I gotta quit that. finish the package. Now I added this npm run deploy, which basically just executes my deploy script, which copies my JS files back over into my desktop modules project. So, in theory, if I refresh this,
Hey, come on, you can do it.
Theory, come on.
I just saw Will's post for a while about npm run forest run.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, but if I'm working locally, I think the question I get asked the most is like, hey, you're not developing inside a DNN instance. Like, how do you even look at and see what's going on? And I actually I have these little copy scripts that I'm developing outside of, and I just copy, once I get the module installed, I just copy files to the bin directory and the desktop modules, so I don't have to keep reinstalling it. I just install it once and then copy. So that's normally how I do things. So here's the React module I just updated. So this is all a timer, so I can input a time, and it just goes, hey, look at that. We're going to make that amount of time, hit start, and then it starts counting down. And that's all done in React. So all I really had to do for that was I scaffolded out my module. I started adding my components. So I have my little start button component, which extends React. I put in my interface for TypeScript, and did that for my timer and timer input. And then in my app, I just, in the render command, rendered out my components that I created. And that's it. So I could really just concentrate on the code I wanted to write for the module. I didn't have to concentrate on how do I make this work on the install? How do I put this in the manifest? How do I do all this? How do I get Webpack to work? Right? I could just concentrate on my code. And I think that was my biggest goal, was get it far enough along where people could just concentrate on their code.
Yep, get them a good start. We're constantly talking to folks who are maybe out of DNN for a little while and coming back in again. Maybe folks who are used to developing older modules in older versions of DNN, and they're just looking for a helping hand up getting started, getting their work environment set up, getting all of the pieces and dependencies they need in place. You describe here that you're not working inside a Visual Studio, but you obviously can be. You can build here and then begin working and kind of go from there. But this helps get you everything all in one place and gets you started. Much as we view those Christoc templates as the starting point of what you're going to build and work with, this is your new starting point. This is something else that people can try and work with that, like you said, gets them to focus on their code.
Yeah. And all command line, so you can feel like a real developer, right? Hello. Oh, it's Andrew. Hey, Andrew.
Hello, Andrew.
How's everyone doing?
So, yeah, Andrew and I have been having a discussion on Slack about this tool and about the build process of it. Actually, see if I can bring up the GitHub issue, and maybe we can get some opinions while we're on here at least. NPM, run with Andrew. Will, you're a crack up.
Well, I don't know if you'll like what I'm saying.
Go for it, Andrew. It's all yours. What you got?
Oh, I was I guess to summarize what Matt's going to be bringing up is, so right now the extension is primarily based off of Gulp and Node for running the build and such, just like NV Quick Theme, for example. And in build environments, this is really not the best idea in my opinion. And it's only my opinion, no facts here. But if you're running in an environment like VSTS or AppBear, for example, the script pretty much boils down to Gulp running everything for you, and you lose a lot of the granularity that you get in build tasks in those environments. And some of the native features in those build environments get hidden inside these really massive logs. So, for example, in a VSTS workflow, they actually provide tasks for restoring NuGet, running your build, running unit tests, and all that stuff. And when I use the Gulp script, it's just one build task, and if something goes wrong, I have to go searching through all those logs. So the reason why I was asking this question is I think it might be a good idea to not have Gulp manage everything, maybe parts of it. And with the part that got me was the direction it sounded like, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, that you wanted to take this was have Gulp manage the DNN manifest file. And I've talked to a couple people that use VSTS for building their DNN modules, and they use an extension that I write for making manipulations on that manifest file, and you can't use the Gulp tasks included here inside of VSTS the traditional way, which some people are starting to use right now. So that's I guess the long version. Yeah.
Yeah. So my initial vision, I think, was that actually when you ran Gulp, that it could go through your module and look at all the subdirectories and see if there's anything that had a view in it. And if it had a view, it would automatically scaffold out a manifest file. So you could have, one project that maybe you had 3 or 4 modules in, and, you go, oh, I've detected a module that has a view. I'm going to go and see if it has an edit in settings, and if it does, I'm going to add, the module definition in the manifest, and then I'm going to add the edit and the settings, and so on. And go, oh, I see an uninstall SQL provider or install SQL provider. I'm going to add that to the manifest for you. So my vision was really make it, okay, anyone could develop a module without even having to know about the manifest. Just get in and start running and writing code. And then Andrew brought this up where he's like, well, what about for all the real power users out there that they just.
Well, and one of the examples that I want to use is one of the modules I'm building right now. My manifest file has 2 modules in it because I want one installer that ships multiple modules, make it a really easy install process. Based on what we've discussed, that wouldn't be supported here. So maybe one of the routes we go down, Matt and I were talking about earlier today, was as part of the generator questionnaire that I asked you, with all those questions I asked you, maybe we ask, do you want Gulp to manage the manifest file, or maybe what build engine do you want to use? Do you want to use Gulp or do you want to use MS Build? And there's a couple different directions we can go with that, but then the caveat to that would be, how far down the rabbit hole of customization do we go before we end up with something that's almost too customizable that a basic user couldn't use it?
Yeah, and I like the idea of asking if Gulp can manage the file, the manifest file, because that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, honestly, that would be the big win to me. I mean, the other thing is I think we could update the generator to to work in release mode through MS Build. So you can choose either or once it's installed. So like the what is it? Gulp package right now is the command to build the installer files, right? So if we included that the same calls as part of a release build inside of the CS proj file, well, it's kind of like how the Chris Hammond template does it, then we'd be able to do both. But again, do we over-customize it at that point? Or we consider it over-customized at that point?
Hey, I was just going to throw in 2 cents there that if you're worried about making it so that it's so customized, but then a entry-level person is overwhelmed with those, just have a path A, path B type of thing where they can make a choice early on that defaults to some basic common choices or best case choices. If someone's using it that's starting out and they don't know themselves what they're going to prefer, you could always make it that it skips through those questions by answering with default values and send them down path A or path B.
Yeah. Yeah, or if someone really likes the template, I know Will Stroll's it has forked this, and he's going to use some of it at Upendo for some of his things. So that could be an option too, where they're like, "Ooh, I really like this, but I have all these custom things I need to do," or I have this very customized, right? A fork could happen too.
Right. And
the original view was like, all right, let's just get people straight to the code, right? And especially beginners, because this is a tool that you could market to be able to get new developers into the DNN community. So,
yeah, and I do understand that some of the stuff that I do with the generator kind of goes outside the initial vision of the generator. So,
but I did give you a shout out earlier because you have helped a lot. So,
oh, you're welcome. Stuff was broken, so I fixed it.
All right, so we kind of talked about where this would be heading and some of the things you want to do to it. It's not that far until we get to DNN Summit. You're gonna present and show us some exciting things that can be done with it when we get to Summit.
Yeah, I can do a presentation on that.
All right, we'll hold you to it. When it comes
then,
to submissions, we'll submit for you.
All right. And then, yeah, David, we'll look into changing it to Yarn just for you.
Oh, I was just curious if it'll support it now. I guess it
I actually don't think there's any difference. Like if you install Yarn and you run Yarn instead of npm install, it's still going to read the same package JSON file, but it's going to create a.
That's what I was thinking too. It's like I think we could probably do that. I just don't know if the build process. I'm not that versed on the differences there. I mean, is it really doing the same thing, just higher optimization there, or is it a different?
Yeah, I mean, npm is just used to download the dependencies for all that. So the build process itself, it already has everything on there. So Yarn we could use Yarn if it's installed, just to do the initial download of those modules, the node modules. So
I'll do a quick test of it here and let you know in about 2 minutes.
Yeah. I'm going to see a GitHub issue come up. It does not work with Yarn. So I'm getting some things together here, but contributing's easy. I'm going to come up with a document that shows some steps how to contribute. But if you just go over the GitHub page and you fork it and you contribute just like you do every other GitHub module, it's pretty much what we're doing. If you are developing a Yeomon template locally, once you have the generator checked out, you go into your actual folder. So and you run npm link. And that actually, I'll put that in the chat. And that actually sets up and links your local generator to NPM, so you can run it locally and test any local changes. So that's the one thing I have to document, but I'll get that in there so people can contribute here. If you run npm linq link instead, you get to play a Nintendo emulator. Clever, Scroll. Clever, Will. I like it.
Very nice.
I think, that's all I got. I mean, sorry for my super slow machine.
It's something that happens.
Sorry, we're up to, what, $18 now that we've got set aside for your new one?
For a new machine?
Perfect.
All right, so we've kind of been asking questions, and we've been jumping into the conversations while we've been talking. But out to those online, anybody else have questions for what we've seen and what we're talking about doing here with DNN Generator DNN? All right.
Yeah. Andrew, you missed the whole presentation.
You came in at the best part.
What? I thought I was on time.
Nope.
Just about an hour off there.
Yeah. It's your time zones, maybe.
Sorry.
But it was great having your questions and inputs.
Absolutely.
Stroll's asking about a roadmap.
Yeah, we kind of talked about what you want to do in the future, but how organized is that? Do you have a roadmap yet? Do you have people submitting? I don't know. Obviously, you're saying that it's something the community can participate in, but aside from pull requests, do you have people making suggestions and enhancement improvement requests yet?
Yeah, we got the issues. Andrew's been making some. I have milestones laid out here.
All right.
Right. So I think I'm working on this one right now, the 1.07, to fix some of David's issues and a couple others. And yeah, I'm just trying to set up it through that. So the only thing coming really I have flagged in the 1.08, so not the next release, but the release after, is the persona bar task. And so we have a couple others in here about adding the MVC and or adding the API for MVC in SPA or even its own project.
Matt, could we add another issue in there for Razor Pages support?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I'm also working on the Generator DNN site. There's going to be a FAQ that comes up here. So once I get the contribute documents up, I'll launch the FAQ. And so basically that'll be how to contribute and then how to update an existing scaffolded project. Because with Yeoman, there may be new features that get added to a generator that you go, oh, I want some of that. Well, you can rerun the scaffold, and it asks you, do you want to overwrite the file or keep it, or run a diff against it, or merge, and you can go through the files that it goes through, and then you can actually get some of the newer functionality. So if I, for instance, change some of the build scripts, I could put out there going, hey, here's how you just rerun the Yeoman and only choose to overwrite the build scripts, and you can get some newer features. So I'll have some documentation on that too.
All right. Well, I think it's about that time. We're running up to the end of our meeting. If you'll switch presenter, David, I'll bring back on screen and kind of wrap up a few things. First thing is to thank Matt Rutledge here for his presentation and his work here. This is something that can help benefit everybody, even if you're old to DNN or brand new getting started. These are your entry points to getting started with new development work. So thank you, Matt, for what you're doing here. As usual, we're kind of wrapping up here the end of this Southern Fried DNN User Group meeting. The meeting runs every third Thursday of the month, and that makes our August meeting Thursday the 16th. So we will put out announcements soon when we have exactly who's in for that lineup and going to be presenting. As always, if you have topics that you want to talk about, complaints and questions that you want to put to us or to the community, send it to us. You can email info@southernfrieddnn.com. You can also obviously hit us up on Twitter and other social locations. Clint and David are both fairly pervasive across the Twitter and Facebook verse. So hit us up with ideas and questions, and we'll bring you on or help answer those for you. If you'd like to present, obviously reach out to us as well. We'd love to have you on. I will kind of check in with David and Clint, see if there's anything else we need to mention. Otherwise, I'm going to grab some of the swag and make a mention about that here in a second.
Will has a question for you there, Ryan.
For myself?
Yes, for you. He wants to know, did you ever do your session about switching the hash setting in the web config?
I've got about 4 sessions that I keep in my back pocket that are the if someone suddenly can't show up sessions that I could do. I've got one that compares and contrasts liquid content to other methods of doing the same thing. I've got one on SSL certificates if I haven't done that one already. And yeah, taking old DNN instances because it was prepared back in 7 maybe or 8 when we talked about that, but yeah. Do I have one on Next Month Pro? Yeah, I can do that on my sleeve. So
I wasn't trying to be funny there.
No, on the hashtags one, if you switching the hash, if you want us to do that one, we could approach it and plan it for the fall here for sure. I thought he was going to ask me if I had skiing videos from Summit that I absolutely have to post to him because I've got some great original video that I want to post up. All right. Well, we have obviously a sponsor and a community that we're participating in since hit my camera here. I need to see my own video here, but yeah, there we go. Since we have joined the .NET Foundation, we have lots of items that have come our way. See there. We've got magazines to send out. We've got T-shirts. We've got more stickers and swag to pass folks' way. And we don't often mail things out to folks. There's sometimes that we have prizes and giveaways, raffle items that are most often digital. But here today we've got a box full of some physical things that I'd love to get out to folks. So if you are online right now, get me a mailing address. Put it into the chat bar here and post us up either publicly if you're fine with that. The chat does not go out in our recorded sessions, just FYI. So post us a mailing address or put it privately to myself in chat if you don't want to do that. And I would love to send you out a little package. It won't be much, but it's a care package from the .NET Foundation straight to you, and would love to share that love from you from our new, I would say sponsors, but also our community partners. You know, we are sponsoring them as much as they're sponsoring us because we're all part of the DNN community, and DNN community is now connected to .NET Foundation. So give me some addresses, and I'll send some things out to you care of Southern Fried here a little bit later this month. In the meantime, any other chat items or questions that came in?
So an address came in on the
I'm
chat.
getting 2 or 3 different ones, yeah.
But
great.
when we end this session, those are going to be gone. So are you going to copy those?
Yes, I'm about to.
Okay.
Yep. Before we end things, I will copy those for sure.
Okay.
Okay, so DNN Summit, definitely announced for 2019, February, week after Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
We have our planning in the middle of next week. I believe it's Wednesday at noon Eastern time. If you want to participate, reach out to Clint, and look forward to hearing a lot more information coming back about that. And I think that's it for my wrap up for the meeting. All right. Well, thanks very much for joining us. We will see you next Thursday. That should be August the 16th. And thank you for joining us here tonight.
All right. Hey, Andrew.